Broad question, starting with physics.
Yeah.
What did you do to study for physics?
Well, I would read the section of the textbook before I had been into class, then you kind of know it, and then it's reinforced in class, and then, do a little bit of practice on that section each week. Like the stuff you would just learn. You can get dot point books, or you can get the success ones, and they're sort of by topic. Do the relevant questions. That really, really helps. I wasn't so much of a summary person, although I would often make summaries, not necessarily keep them.
When you say summary, you're talking about notes?
Yeah, my notes, but also I'd summarise my notes, sometimes not looking at my notes, but it was, do the summaries yourself. Maybe download a copy of the Board of Studies website or use a friend's or something like that, but the reason people get things out of summaries is because they've done it themselves and it makes them remember it. Then in the lead up, try and do practice exams and get to know what dot points are often tested, and use the syllabus a lot. The syllabus is really your guide to what you need to know. So even if you don't make summaries, go through the syllabus and look at the dot point and go, oh yeah, that was this, and this. Or if you don't know it, look it up in the textbook and do a few questions.
So quiz yourself, basically.
Yeah, quiz yourself. I tended not to do so many summaries because they were really boring. So I'd try and quiz myself and stuff. But often with chemistry and physics, you just have to sit down and really just do it. And get into the routine of doing 1 hour of study a week on top of homework or leading up to exams or something like that. So then if you get into the habit, then you kind of just get used to it. It's like when you start exercising a lot. At first it's like, oh my god, but then if you do it, it's like, oh, well, it's not so bad. It's pretty boring, but it's not so bad.
Alright, so just to sort of, I guess, understand a couple of steps in that process.
Yeah.
So the starting point, read ahead, as usual, it's a bit of a common theme.
Yeah.
And then you do the work in class, and then you do any homework.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of 3 levels of repetition.
Yeah.
Then you would, based on what you had studied in homework, you'd make summary notes.
Generally that I would summarise more closer to exams. It probably would have been a good idea to summarise as I went, but just doing it before exams is also really helpful. I tend not to do that much out of class until the lead up to exams, but I wouldn't start your lead up to an exam a few weeks before, like say 3 weeks or something, and then just start revising. You might not be able to revise the stuff you're still learning, but
And so then you did say though, so you weren't making summary notes weekly, that was, in the lead up, but you did say that you made an attempt to do, say an hour of extra study beyond homework a week. What did that entail?
Usually it would be going to the library at school and borrowing the Success One books, and later on I bought them, or the dot point books, which I didn't own, or just looking at a different textbook. I found that really helped, because I didn't like the textbook we used for physics, so instead I borrowed one from the library for a few months. And and that was really helpful. If you happen to go to a school where you have to buy your own textbooks, then highlighting is really helpful. Often if we get printouts, I'd highlight them. And our teacher would he'd give us printouts of another textbook to teach from, so then our textbook was different again, so try and use as many different sources. And I found just reading was a good way to do chemistry and physics for me, because it was probably the most enjoyable way to do it and the most interesting, because each little thing would have an extra little tidbit that was interesting and you hadn't heard of 50,000 times before.
Alright, great. So, no real notes then until the lead up to exams?
I made notes in class, but...
Yeah, but beyond class notes, for example.
No.
And it was then just, it sounds like, pursuing your interest. So you were doing that extra study, but it was just reading and finding things within the syllabus you were interested in.
Yeah, generally stuff like that, because I really love physics and chemistry, but sometimes the HSC it gets really repetitive and really a bit dry and boring. So just try and do the things you're interested in, or do the thing, like you might say, okay, no matter what, it's probably going to be a bit boring if you don't like it that much, or you just don't find the HSC that interesting, but say, well, you know what, I'm going to try and find the way that is at least, tiresome for me, or at least most interesting, something like that.
Alright.